So welcome back to our Christmas series here from the Bruderhof. We're going to be talking more about our various Christmas traditions today, and we really should have cups of cocoa in our hands.
I was hoping someone would bring some cookies or something.
Oh well.
Well, think about them. Imagine them
Yes.
being here.
The first tradition we want to talk about is 100 days until Christmas celebration. Now, I'm not sure when this tradition originated or started.
We've been celebrating it as long as I can remember.
Likewise. But it's something that we really look forward to, and it happens 100 days prior to Christmas.
September 16th.
Yes.
Which is the birthday of my daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
very
exciting.
Special.
And you're really not usually feeling in a very festive mood on that day. I mean, it's usually beautiful September weather. So this tradition is just a gathering with the community, and it involves glühwein, mulled wine for the adults, as well as really delicious Christmas Stollen, which is basically an enriched bread with nuts and raisins and rum.
Right, and I should mention that another thing that's maybe not so Christmassy about Stollen is actually in the Bruderhof there's Stollen factions.
We should discuss
the Stollen.
that, yeah.
So I think there's a yeast Stollen, and then there's like a baking powder Stollen. And people feel very strongly. I personally love all Stollen.
So you don't discriminate?
I don't. I mean, it's hard for me to tell the difference, but anyway, the baking powder Stollen, I believe, is a little bit heavier and a bit more traditional, and the yeast Stollen is more like a Christmas bread. So each has their place in my mind, but there's definitely factions and pride in family recipes. So.
And I think that's because we do have just a wealth of really good bakers and like Rich was saying, people that pride themselves in those like cultural narratives and traditions from different parts of Germany or other European countries. So I think it's quite comical how how excited people can get about it, but it's usually all in good fun.
No, it's all in good fun. Yeah, 100 Days to Christmas, it's in and out, one day to sing some Christmas songs and realize that Christmas is coming, and Christmas is the answer to many of our problems and fears and worries. The fact that Jesus is coming and actually can come at any point during the year.
And for me, it's always a great moment to pause and think about that message and kind of recenter or refocus on the gospel.
The next one we want to talk about is the Santa Lucia tradition, which takes place on December 13th.
Yes.
And Doreen should probably talk about it because she probably has more direct experience with it than I do.
So Santa Lucia is a Swedish tradition that was introduced to our community through a member who joined in the 50s, Ruby Moody, whose mother preserved the Swedish tradition for her as a child. Ruby taught the 7th and 8th grades in the elementary school, so that's really where the tradition took off. And when I was in 7th grade, I recall Ruby's granddaughter, Emily, was my teacher. So she really took the time to explain the tradition. And we started the day prior prepping Santa Lucia buns, as we called them. It was also another really delicious enriched dough that we would make. And that was an experience in and of itself, because you had to figure out the math and the quantities to make enough for all the students' families, and most of us had rather large families.
You can imagine this group of students traversing through the community, going to visit their families in the early morning hours, and then going into the parental bedroom with this wreath of burning candles and some cups of coffee, which often by the time they got to the parents were kind of lukewarm. Yeah. And there's plenty of stories of fire alarms and scorched hair.
Yes, one of the years that I was able to do that, we went into a building and the family there had hung paper chains down the hallway, and our Santa Lucia was no joke. She was a fairly tall lady, and she caught the paper chains on fire. So needless to say, it was a very exciting morning.
Next up, another thing that we really look forward to every year is practicing one of the great Christmas choral works. So that would be like Handel's Messiah, selections from Handel's Messiah, J.S. Bach's Christmas Oratorio, The Star of Bethlehem, which is a beautiful piece by Joseph Reinberger, and Oratorio de Noël by Camille Saint-Saëns.
Yeah.
Saint-Saëns.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful piece. And, you know, none of us are probably that talented, either musicians or singers, but it's just a lot of fun and also meaningful to get together as a community, you know, divide up into singing parts, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and practice these pieces. And they really become part of you in a way that doesn't happen if you just listen to them. What's your favorite?
My favorite is Handel's Messiah, for sure. But all the other choral works that you mentioned are fabulous and very uplifting. And I recall as a child going to choir practices, as we would call them, and I was assigned another sister who was in the soprano section was my choir buddy. And I just remember thinking she had the voice of an angel and learning all the notes from her, and that doesn't leave you.
Yeah.
And it's a great experience also to get to know other people in the community in that capacity and learn those pieces by heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a different form of worship.
Yeah, it is. And then the actual performance, the culmination of it, there's usually about 10 people in the audience, people who can't or won't sing.
Right.
And they get to listen to the other 250 of us blasting away.
Do you play an instrument?
I actually played piano and was terrible.
Yeah.
I had to give it up. How about you?
Likewise, my piano teacher told me that I was a failure.
Yeah.
So, did not
But
go to piano.
that's another great thing is for the kids who are talented
Yeah.
at playing violin, cello, whatever. That's a great experience for them to work, play in the community choir. So.
Yes. Something that's very meaningful to me every Christmas, and I think this stems from Christmases with my grandparents who were of German heritage, was singing these really ancient and traditional Christmas carols. I believe they're probably Germanic Latin traditionally, but they're often quite long with many verses, and I remember memorizing them as a child, and then on very special occasions we would sing these songs. I think part of that is also these beautiful songs about Mary. We call them Marienlieder.
Mm-hmm. People sometimes think because we're Anabaptist and not Catholic that we, don't think much about Mary, the mother of Jesus, but that's not true because for us, Mary, we have a lot of reverence and respect for Mary. She's the only woman to receive Christ through the Holy Spirit, so it is important for us to honor her, especially in words and song, and that's not to be confused with worship.
Another song which has strong associations to Christmas and the Christmas story for me is one we have in our songbook. It's called Who's Knocking There? And I remember singing this every year. Sometimes it's even enacted in a communal gathering or celebration, but the song really powerfully portrays how Mary and Joseph was rejected. Everywhere they tried to find lodging and shelter, the inn was full. So what happens in the song is the men sing the innkeeper's part, and the women sing the part of Mary and Joseph, begging for lodging and shelter, and then getting rejected, and then the lesson from that after they find the stable and the Christ child is born. So I remember hearing this as a kid and just weeping because it's very impactful.
Yeah.
And that's never going to leave me, and it's something I hope that we also continue to sing and pass on to the children.
Well, that's a reminder that for each of us, keep our doors open and, hospitality and welcoming the stranger is just such a fundamental part of following Jesus, and that's what we're called to in our life together. So, well, thank you for watching and listening to us meander. But we do wish you a Merry Christmas. If there are Christmas traditions that are important to you, please let us know about them in the comment section, because people celebrate Christmas in many different ways, and it's fun to learn what others do, and maybe you can incorporate some of our traditions into your lives, and maybe if you let us know about yours, maybe we can incorporate them into our Christmas celebration. So thank you for watching, and we wish you joy this season, and see you next time.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.